Welcome back. I'm Jeff Kleinman, the editor-in-chief of BevNet. We're here in the live stream lounge at Project NOSH Brooklyn. It's our rainy lunch edition of the live stream lounge, and I'm here with old friend Eric Skae of the Bricktown group. Eric, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Bricktown?
Yes. 4 years ago, I founded Bricktown, and I've owned a couple of brands where I've had to do everything from sales, operations, marketing, finance. So we're general managers. So whether it's building a financial plan, building a strategic plan, or getting in and doing tactical execution, actually setting up distribution, setting up retail, and figuring out how to get your brand to the shelf, we can and will do it all, and whatever it takes.
Now, Eric, I've always known you to be one of the hardest working people I've ever met.
Hasn't changed.
And when it comes to the brands that you've worked on, both Icelandic and New Leaf, that hard work never abated. But I think that for many entrepreneurs, that desire to work hard behind a brand doesn't slow down. So what trips them up, if not the willingness to put themselves out there?
Well, look, hard work and putting yourself out there is part of the equation. And you know, I've always looked at it, and persistence and determination alone will get you everywhere. But you have to have a strategic plan. You have to think about how you're going to build your brand, where you're going to build your brand, and really focus and build, because it's a hard world out there. Building a brand, you're trying to, it's a needle in a haystack, as you know. You know, starting at BevNet, think about how many brands you have seen that aren't here today. And it's not necessarily a look, it's not a feel, it's not how hard the guy worked.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it is, did they try to go too wide, too fast? Did they not have the right financing in place, so on and so forth?
And a lot of times we find that those decisions were the wrong ones, really only in hindsight. I mean, you can game it out as much as possible and still have it go wrong.
Look, I've learned a lot more from my failures than I have from my successes, a considerable amount more, which is, you know, when you look at our firm, Bricktown, it's one of the advantages we bring, because I can help people avoid a lot of pitfalls that I personally made while building.
What are some of the common errors you're seeing right now?
People going too wide with the brand.
Do you mean across channels, or do you mean in terms of too wide in what the product proposition?
Geography is one that I'm seeing. Another one that I'm seeing is expanding your SKU base too fast, getting into other areas. Make something work first before coming out with that next brilliant idea. I mean, look, I have a war chest of ideas for 30 years, right? If I came out with them all, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, and I want to make sure everyone knows, like, Eric had, at one point, New Leaf had 20-something SKUs. 17, yeah. And did you think you were over-skewed at any point?
I cut back.
Yeah.
You know, I cut some, and what happens, so here's the challenge, right? So you go out and you go, okay, I've got this great idea, and you put it out there, and it doesn't sell great, but there is a certain part of your consumer base that now expects to get that.
Sure.
So now it becomes hard to cut. It becomes really hard to make that decision, both in terms of dollars and emotionally. You don't want to disappoint people.
Yeah, as a writing teacher I had once said, you have to learn to drown your kittens.
Yeah.
But would you say that there's anything in the sales environment that's changed that allows for brands to narrow cast some favored SKUs a little bit more? I'm thinking in terms of some of the revival brands we're seeing going only through Amazon or through online channels that allow some of these things that have cult followings to remain alive. Can you do that at a small scale?
I don't know if you can do it on a small scale. I like what I see going on in a large scale, and it's an area of the business that's growing rapidly, and it's one that I'm looking to learn more about. And I'm actively studying it and getting involved in. So I can't answer you whether you could do that on a smaller scale just yet. just don't have enough education there, Jeff, to
Okay.
give you an honest answer.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about some of the companies you're working with these days.
Well, our primary, one of our bigger consulting projects where I spend a good portion of my time is Watermelon Water, which is a very hot, exciting brand, and I'm helping set up distribution in both food service, DSD, and New York. So whatever areas they need
Food
help.
service, DSD, and New York,
Yeah.
which is sort of a whatever it takes environment, right?
Yeah, but it's one that I know. It's one that I know well. I'm working with Uncle Matt's Organics, brand I really like.
Certainly a pioneer
Yeah.
in the space.
Yeah.
Tell us what is it about New York that can be difficult for a brand to really thrive in?
Well, here's the way I always look at it, right? You own a brand and you live in Peoria. And you come to New York because you want to meet your distributor. You want to see your brand on the shelf. So there is, unfortunately, somewhat of a giveaway mentality within the retail in New York. I did a call on a distributor the other day. I said, okay, what's it going to take us to get on the shelves? He goes, I'll get you on the shelf in 500 stores overnight.
How many free cases does that cost?
He needed a BOGO, a buy one, get one free, to get in the shelves overnight. So, for the brand owner, you're looking at it and going, okay, do I want to make a $35,000, $40,000 investment to get those 500 accounts? And you have to be willing to do that. And the challenge that you have is there's no loyalty beyond that. So if your brand's not pulling, next guy that comes in and does a BOGO's taking your space. So you've got to have a team, you've got to understand how to fight the street war, and you've got to get after it. So if a brand's not strong enough, you might be better off going and getting 100 of the right accounts. Really working those 100, creating a demand, creating a pull. So when you walk down the street to the next store, he knows that the brand's already hot. Exactly.
Now, do you find that retailers here are receptive to, say, a scaled back plan for that kind of thing? Or once they want something, they want it in every store all the time?
They typically want it in every store all the time. What you have here, though, is a big independent base. So once you get beyond the chains, if you're building the independent base, as long as you have the right intelligence, you can pick the top 100 independents and just really, really focus on those.
So forewarned is forearmed.
Exactly. Now, the landscape's shifted so dramatically with Whole Foods having 9 stores in Manhattan now.
Yeah.
Where they didn't 15 years ago when I was launching brands, there was 1.
Now,
right? So that hurt a lot of the independents.
Do you find that that Whole Foods is receptive to new brands still, or is that changing?
It's changing as of recently because of all the changes.
The buyer changes.
The buyer changes. I don't think that that's going to be something that persists in the future. I really think they will get back to their core of pioneering brands, because I think that's how they've built their business. So I don't see them. I don't see this persisting, but who knows?
Yeah.
Time will tell. Right now, everybody's in a mode of there's 2,000 or 3,000 less people here. We've had all these changes. We're not going to do a lot this go round.
So we just have another minute or so here. I wonder, what's the best hidden account in New York for a growing food brand?
I charge people for that information.
Well, we're out of time, I'm afraid.
There is not a best one.
Yeah.
There's many that you have to get to make it work.
All right. Eric, great to have you on board, and thanks very much for stopping by.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have a good show.